I pull up and hop out, check out my drip. Hey, I pull up and hop out, check out my whip. Pull up and hop out, check out my kick. I pull up and hop out, I pull up and hop out. I pull up and hop out, check out my whip.
Shoot King back with another one, man. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and explain all of the textures for all the beginners and the people that just don't know, man. So we're gonna start off with a warn. This is an in-game warn. Warn straw beige. It's a full warn. That's an in-game color from Save Editor, aka DMO color, whatever you want to call it. So whenever you want to check to see if something is an in-game and not RGB, you can click on primary, go down to crew, and click it. Doesn't matter what your crew color is. If the car changes to your crew color on that particular placement of the vehicle, then it's showing you that that is not RGB, because RGB would have went to the secondary if that was the case. So when you hover over secondary, or you click on secondary and hover over crew for secondary, only the secondary changes. Primary did not. So that's stating that this car is a in-game color / texture. Now, this car is a warn as well, but the difference is this is a warn RGB. Full warn RGB at that. Primary and secondary. Spinnaker purple. So, in order to check to make sure that it's a RGB, or to see if it's an RGB, you're going to do the same exact thing that we just did with the first car. Go down to respray, go to primary, then go down to crew. And when you hover over crew, which my crew color is black, you see the whole color of the car changes to crew, but the secondary remains worn texture because I'm hovering over crew on the primary. Same thing applies for secondary. Since this is a full worn RGB. When you click on secondary and you go down to crew, the color of the car still changes to whatever your crew color is, but you see that primary is actually still worn texture and the secondary is just a glossy crew color. Easy peasy on how to determine if a car has RGB on it or not. Now, this is a matte, a full matte. But as I explained before in a previous video, matte with the secondary cleanup will give you a RGB treatment, but it's not RGB. You can tell that the car is a full matte dark red. But however, when you check primary on here, hover over crew, you can see the whole color of the car changes. Even though that secondary is an in-game matte dark red, it was clean with crew. So that's why it's acting as if it's a RGB crew color. So when you go down to secondary and you hover over crew, you see the primary doesn't change because it's for real deal in-game color. So I'm hovering over dark red matte just so y'all can see that that is dark red matte for primary and secondary. But yeah, mattes and metals, that's cleaned up for the secondary because that's the only way that you can have a clean secondary for a matte or a metal it will always act like a RGB even though it's not. So the next texture is utility. This is a full utility green. There is no RGB on this card.
Here for the
Just
magic
like the
touch.
first card, which is a full in-game one. This is an in-game from Save Editor, aka DMO, whatever. So same thing applies. If you want to check it out, go down to primary under respray and hover over crew. You'll see that only the primary changes to whatever your crew color is. Secondary remains the same, and vice versa. If you go down to secondary and hover over crew, only the secondary is shown as your crew color. Primary is untouched. That is a full in-game utility green. So we done warns, we done mats. That was utility. So now here is a metal. This applies to what I just said, or the same applies to what I just said about the mat. This is brushed gold. It's considered a full in-game, but as I mentioned, the secondary needs to be cleaned up with crew. So it's going to be the same thing as the mat. If you hit respray, you go down to primary, or it's already going to be on primary. You go down to crew and hover over it. You see the whole color of the card changes, but it's glossy on the primary part because that's where you are hovering over the crew, and the secondary still remain that metal color or metal texture. And when you go to secondary, you hover over secondary, the primary didn't change because it's a true in-game for the primary. Secondary cleaned up with crew. Now, this is metallic. Pea green. It's another in-game color. No RGB on this card whatsoever. Same thing applies. Go down to respray on primary, go down to crew. When you hover over it, only that section of the card changes to your crew color. Back off of that, go down to secondary, go down to crew. When you hover over crew, secondary only changes. Full in-game pea green metallic. Next on the list will be Epsilon. Now, this is the true Epsilon. This is a full in-game Epsilon. Primary, secondary, pearl, wheel, interior. I'll show the difference of an RGB afterwards. But with this being a full in-game texture and color, because the real deal Epsilon is a texture and color. Same thing that we just been doing all video. Primary, hover over crew. Primary only changes. Secondary stays the same. Back off of that, go down to secondary, hover over crew. Only the secondary changes. Primary remains the same. Full Epsilon in-game. Now, here's the difference between the in-game and the RGB. This is a full RGB Epsilon. Or no, my bad. This ain't no Epsilon. I'm tripping. This ain't no Epsilon. That ain't no Epsilon. I'm getting mixed up here, man. My bad. It's not an Epsilon. This is actually MP100 texture. My bad, my bad. I'm bugging out, man. This is a full RGB MP100 texture. I'll show the in-game MP100 afterwards. But, like I say, when you check in RGB, you hover over primary or secondary. It's going to put whatever your crew color is over the whole car, but the opposite section of the car that you're not hovered over will keep the texture. So if you hover over primary, the secondary is going to keep the texture. And if you hover over secondary, the prime, or yeah, y'all get what I'm saying. I guess I said the shit right. I don't know. You get what I'm saying here. Let me try to repeat it. Yeah. If you hover over primary, the secondary texture doesn't change. If you hover over secondary, the primary color doesn't change, or texture. Now, this is a full in-game MP100. MP100 does look a little close to Epsilon, so that's why I fucked up for real. But Epsilon is a little less chromy-ish, but still glassy looking like the
What can the best
MP100.
mechanic in LS do
But
for
yeah,
you?
this is a full MP100, aka Secret Gold. Same thing applies to this. You can hover over whatever section of the car you want, and only the section that you're hovering over with crew will change. Keep in mind too, I know a lot of y'all are new to, you know, making cars and getting one of ones made. You can't just make anything on a vehicle. It has to make sense. A lot of people be trying to have two RGB colors, which is not possible. Somebody will say, yo, bro, let me get a warm pink and a warm pink primary, warm pink secondary. It's not possible.
What are we doing today?
Neither one of those are in games, so it's not possible.
What are you after?
And the last car is going to be Chameleon, of course. I mean, y'all should know that that's not no RGB, but I still showed it anyway, just hovering over primary with crew and then hover over secondary with crew. Nothing's going to change as far as like RGB, because there's no RGB on it. But yeah, when it comes to making cars, it has to make sense, man. That's all I'm saying.
I'm always here.
But I'm out of here, man. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next. I'm out of this. Gosh. Peace.